Yeah. Are you ready, Paul?
Right, great. Well, again, thanks everyone for coming this afternoon. Appreciate that. Much of what we'll say in our statements, I guess you would have read yesterday, but I'll kick it off. So the New South Wales Waratahs announced yesterday that the contract of head coach Darren Coleman will not be extended beyond the conclusion of the 2024 Super Rugby season. Darren joined the New South Wales Waratahs as head coach in 2021, and during his tenure, Darren brought a deep connection to rugby in New South Wales, especially the Shute Shield, an amazing passion for the game and a dedication to the team. His leadership of the program has always been very authentic and has built genuine connections with staff, players and Waratah fans. The decision not to extend Darren's contract was made after careful consideration and evaluation of the high performance function, the high performance of the team and the future objectives of the organisation. Darren will continue as head coach for the remainder of the 2024 Super Rugby season, and the New South Wales Waratahs would like to express its gratitude to Darren for his hard work and dedication throughout his time with the Waratahs. We'd like to extend our best wishes to Darren for his future endeavours and thank him for his contributions to the Waratahs. A comprehensive process to identify and appoint a new head coach will commence immediately.
Are you ready, Darren?
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Paul. I wrote a few things down for this one. I think it's important to have a strong emotional connection to your job. For me, this is more than a job. It becomes all-encompassing and sometimes, unfortunately, to the detriment of other things in your life. But at the moment, I'm feeling six strong emotions, and I reckon if I go through them, it'll help probably answer most of your questions as well. I'm appreciative. I'm very appreciative to the organisation, the opportunity of giving me to be the head coach of this great state. I appreciate that the board enabled me to finish the season when results weren't great and invested in me with a mid-year review to improve my game. Unfortunately, this season the results didn't match the endeavour of everyone involved. I'm thankful. I'm really thankful for all the friendships I've made in my time here and some great memories. The staff and players I've met and worked with in this 3-year period, many I'll call friends for life. I'm also thankful that I get to move on to another organisation, project and start that mateship process with a new bunch of friends again. I'm sorry and I'm embarrassed. I couldn't progress the good work and the on-field results of my year one here to further success with the team. I feel especially bad I couldn't deliver for all the passionate and loyal Tars fans and supporters. The ones that jump on and off from time to time and prefer to be negative, I'm not so sad to see the back end of them. But I genuinely understand how important this team's success is to New South Wales Rugby, and I'm sad I couldn't contribute more to the growth of the game through our team's on-field performances. I'm frustrated. I feel this year could have turned out a lot different with a bit of luck at crucial times around our front row injuries and that run of 4 games early in the season. I feel some success in those or a result or two may have seen a different season unfold. I'm proud. I'm really proud of what happened in year one and the positives we built at Leichhardt, and I'm proud I did my best to stay in the fight under tricky circumstances at times and with mounting pressure. I didn't quit. I'm more resilient because of it. It doesn't mean what you guys write sometimes doesn't hurt, but I'm definitely more resilient, more thick-skinned off the back of it. But I'm genuinely proud that I stuck it out and went to the end. And lastly, I'm motivated. I'm motivated to reflect, to learn and improve from this experience, and to continue to enjoy the fruits of this great sport. I already can't wait to take what I've learnt from this gig and rip into my next project. The dreamer in me would love to come back one day, whenever, 10 years down the track, and have another shot at it as a better coach. And lastly, I'm motivated. I want to finish well here. We're sitting in a horrible position on the ladder, which I want to rectify. I want to win our last 2 games and get up a few spots on that ladder and have all the staff and players that are here leave with a smile on their face and on a positive note after what's been a disappointing season.
Questions from anybody else? So Darren, you go through those emotions and whatnot. Given you spoke of the injuries and the close losses, You're probably the first Waratahs coach to beat the Crusaders 3 times, to be shown the door. I mean, do you feel a bit stiff at all?
Oh, no. Stiff in where we're sitting on the ladder, or stiff in the outcome?
Hardly done by that you haven't got another crack?
Oh, no. It's just like me with players, mate. You got to make a decision at some time. There's players that could feel hard done by selections, but you got to take, as I do when I select a player, you take everything into consideration. You make the best decision for the team, and I feel the board and the organisation have taken everything on board, and they've made the best decision. There's definitely no bad blood from my end. I'm not slinging and throwing any rocks on the way out. As I said, I'm just really appreciative. I got the opportunity, and sorry I couldn't do better.
Darren, it speaks a lot to your character that you're here today and speaking about it, and also coaching the last 2 games of the season. Is it tough to continue on being so disappointed that you won't be here next year?
Actually, today felt it was a bit of a relief, to be honest. Around. Because had been hanging around for a bit whether I was going to stay or not, so to get that out of the way, and it was disappointing. Like Saturday night in Perth, this was a performance no one's proud of, so that really hurt. But we had a really good chat today as a team, and everyone's on the same page. We really want to finish strong, and it's not just for me. There's a lot of other my staff. I feel I've let them down because there's uncertainty now around their future. And there's a lot of really good Waratah players that this could be their last year. Some we know are moving on, some are unsure. So yeah, I'm only Johnny come lately. I've only been here 3 years. There's a lot of good guys here that after today, I'm glad we get this out of the way, and I just want to make sure I finish strong and we celebrate those good Waratah boys that'll be leaving over the next few weeks.
Early on, before even being kicked off, it was kind of said that you would only have 4 or 5 weeks to prove yourself. Do you feel like the background noise, the idea that maybe in those month or 2 you had to win a certain amount of games, could that impact in the season and the result of that?
No, I don't think so. No, I didn't coach any better or any worse because of that. I was always giving my best. So. No, I don't think that impacted. For anything, I guess it showed we didn't do well in the first 4 weeks. I think we're 1 and 3. So I guess the board, I have a feeling that they wanted to keep me. I just me and the team needed to perform. And so they stretched it out to the mid-year review, and we still weren't going well, and they gave me some feedback and another shot, and then we still weren't going well. So no hard feelings. They gave me 3 chances, not 1.
Paul, you talked about the recruitment process for next coach will start immediately. Has it already started?
Well, it started once the board made the decision, then we started that process. So, yeah, nothing beforehand. As I said to Darren, one of the nicest things about working with Darren is that we've had a fantastic relationship, been honest and truthful the whole way through the journey, and so I've not been out there at all undermining that work. Once the board made the decision, I then relayed that information to Darren, then we start that process.
And Michael Check is an obvious sort of candidate. Has he reached out to you at all?
No, I haven't spoken to Michael this time around, so no, not as yet. But
someone you'd like to have here?
Look, I think I'm not going to put names on it today because there's plenty of people. I don't want to necessarily suggest that there's one ahead of the others. So yeah, we'd be open to all incumbents.
Paul, what changed in the last couple of weeks from making a call after the season to the position we're in today?
Now, look, I think you'll get the genuine sense today about how I'll use the word twice, genuine the process has been. We're very comfortable with what we've done. We're very comfortable with the way in which we've engaged with Darren along. So I don't think it's a matter of saying something's changed. I think this was just building upon it, provide an opportunity for Darren to react to some of the feedback we gave. And I think why have we waited, or why we brought that decision forward for 2 weeks? Essentially, I think it was a conversation between Darren and myself that sort of said, look, it'd be nice to know now and provide certainty, whether that's certainty for Darren, whether that's certainty for players, or whether that's certainty for the organisation. We were in a position where we had enough information to be able to make that call. So I wouldn't suggest anything's changed. I just suggest we got to a point where we could feel comfortable in making that call.
There's a stack of players who are leaving after this year. Skipper has requested a release. Are you concerned about where the team will be at next year, roster-wise?
No, look, I think like every year this is the beauty of rugby, right? So it's a global game. You've got people coming and going. So we've got people that are already well publicised that are coming into the roster, people that are leaving. I think Jake did a really good job last week explaining his position on his value and why he was looking forward to remaining at the Tahs for 2025. So Look, I think for us it's a genuine piece of work. Now Darren has taken a large chunk of that work for us around driving what that program might look like. Now we'll have to adjust it a little bit, Tom, but effectively, nope, still as confident as ever that next year we'll have a really respectable, high quality side and put a good effort in.
Rugby Australia, they decided to go down the director of rugby or high performance route
Yep.
and then appoint the coach after. Are you going to do a similar process? Have you worked out what process it's going to be?
No, I think that's exactly the conversation we're having at the moment, actually. So effectively, we're looking at, I think it's a bit like getting the right skills matrix together. I think we've really missed not having Andrew on board, Andrew Blades. That's been something that I think we would like to rectify sooner rather than later. So I think we'll go into the mix of these discussions around what does it look like for both those positions and how it all lays out. So I think from our perspective, both positions are on the table, but there's a bit of work to be done before we finalise that.
Is there the possibility that Darren, or maybe this question to you first of all, Paul, a general manager, I think Darren has expressed that he'd be interested in that in the past.
Yep.
Is there the possibility that he would be eligible for that position?
Look, it's and Darren and I have not surprisingly had those conversations. So effectively, that is an option. But again, we've got to land on what do those positions look like. What's the skill set we're looking for that? So we're going to drive that from that objective as opposed to just automatically finding people jobs for people. So first of all, start with the strategy and then get those two positions locked and loaded in terms of knowledge, skills, and experience, and then we can have a conversation with people.
Darren, are you able to expand at all on your new adventure you were talking about earlier?
I'm still happily employed with the Clovelly Crocs under 11s, so we got a big game on Sunday. I'll be in that, but no, when I say there's nothing in the fire yet. I'll get onto that now that this is sort of getting cleaned up, and I'll start looking for something for sure.
As a passionate New South Welshman, do you have a view on what kind of coach should replace you for this group, and also what the Tars need at this point?
Yeah, good question. To be honest, I haven't given it too much thought. No, I will now that you've asked me, but I won't go off the cuff and say something wrong. But yeah, it is a good question.
Lots of coaches have kind of come and gone, and there's only been one super champion out of the Tars. Was the job harder than you thought? And what would you have done if you were starting over again? What would you have done differently?
It's a job harder than I thought. It got in. Yeah, I got to admit, like the outside noise, mate, was harder than I expected. Yeah, I tried to. I'm probably not thick-skinned enough. I tried to drown that out as much as I could, but over time, that does get at you a bit. So that aspect was definitely harder. I probably got a false dawn with the year one, like wins.
No pun intended.
Yeah, wins came pretty easy early on, and what's hit home this year is the fine margins in the higher levels of the game, and I appreciate the front row a lot more than I used to. I didn't think I did much before, but no. What would I do different? Oh, there's heaps I'd do different. But yeah, I've had some feedback on that, and I'd do a few things different. But I think what I'm proud of is I just still came out me at the end. Like it'll always. Although the end's a bit sour and sad, but when I reflect and emotion goes out of it, I'll look back and it'll be an amazing 3 years of my life.
Paul, is there a timeline in place where you want to sort of wrap up who sort of comes and replaces Darren, considering you still have recruitment to do and a bunch of other things as well?
Look, I think not necessarily a clear time frame, except to say that we'd like it done sooner rather than later. Given the fact that I've just said we're only just starting the process now, I am acutely conscious that the downward pressure is already there. So making a decision around who would be the head coach and the discussion around GM is important, but so too is assistant coaches and what their role looks like, and all across the staff of the high performance. That will cascade down. So the sooner we can get into head coach, the sooner we'll be able to start making decisions about those other things. So I think the long and short of it is just as quickly as we can, but we need to spend time to make sure we get the right person.
Darren, I was going to ask in the statement you prepared earlier, you spoke about the emotions of it, and you said you spoke of embarrassment and an apology. Like, is that genuinely your forefront feeling? Can you take stock of the achievements you've had along the way as well?
Yeah, it's one of a few emotions. Yeah. We spoke about it as a team. Like we're not proud of where we're sitting on the ladder. Like, I talked to my boy last night, and yeah, it just hurts rugby in general when the Waratahs aren't doing well, and I was in charge of that. So yeah, I am embarrassed about that, definitely.
Ken, you're a product of the Shoot Shield. You've also spent time in that NRC space. Can you make that leap from Shoot Shield to Super Rugby? Is that something that you don't necessarily have to travel around the world? Are there homegrown coaches here you think that are capable of jumping in?
Yeah, I definitely think you can. And I felt I did a good fist of it early. I think the head coach position at an organisation as big as this is less about the on-field and more about the man management and the stakeholder relationships. So that'd be the biggest gap for a Shoot Shield coach jumping up. What you do on the footy field, like it's 10% of variation. Like I think there's so many smart Shoot Shield football coaches around that would have the tactical and technical knowledge. It would be easier from within, as in a natural progression potentially would be Shoot Shield, being an assistant, to really get a feel for the ins and outs of Super Rugby before you stepped up. But it's not unachievable.
Paul, moving on to head coach, players moving on, does this signify a wider overhaul that needs to happen in the Waratahs to get back to those levels in 2014 and bring premierships back in New South Wales?
No, look, I think we're obviously looking for a bit of a reset. That's for sure. But is it a massive overhaul? I'd suggest there are things we need to do and do differently. We start with the head coach and then work through that. I think if we take the injuries as a good example this year, standard practice for us is always going and doing a deep dive on what that looks like. So there'll be lessons learnt that come out of that. Why the front row and not other areas? We've had such a good run, have we, in other parts of the team that haven't had the soft tissue injury. So I guess from our perspective, we're on this journey of continuous improvement, if you like. It sounds a bit sort of wanky, if you like, but effectively that's the journey that all Super Rugby clubs are on, and all clubs are on. You're trying to think about what would you do differently. Head coach will be a starting position for us, but so too will be looking at all the other staff and what the other things have done. We've been very fortunate here. We've invested heavily on players, player development, a magnificent facility. So it's a continual work on every year. We're trying to do something a bit different. So what does that look like yet? We're very heavily focused on just trying to have a bounce back for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll really spend a bit of quality time and work out what that looks like.
How did the players take the news, Darren? Did you speak to them? Did you feel like they had your back? And how was that process? Like, you've worked very closely with the last few years.
Yeah, it was a staggered process. Paul spoke to him yesterday afternoon, and then I had a yarn with him this morning. A lot of them text last night, most of them, so that was pretty cool. It made me feel pretty good. But also I feel like it wasn't out of the blue. Like everyone, with the review going on and then where we're sitting on the ladder, you didn't have to be Einstein to figure out that there may be changes. So it wasn't like it was a mad shock for the lads, I wouldn't have thought. But yeah, all good things come to an end. As I said to them, like, there's some lads there that'll go on and be lifelong friends, and I look forward to keeping that relationship, and I'll follow their careers with interest. Some of them I'll hook up with again at some point, most I won't, but yeah, it'd be sad. Like, so many good lads in there, and again, I feel sorry for them that I couldn't lead them into more wins and more success.
There's only so much a coach can do though, right? Like, there's a little bit of Wallabies there and they're last on the ladder. Like, do you think the players took that responsibility, and some of them must be feeling pretty ordinary to put you in this position? Yeah, I can't comment on them, but yeah, no, I think the buck always stops with the head coach. I'm happy to take that responsibility. I get a lot of pats on the back in year one when I did well, and conversely, you got a couple of the negative chat and blame when you don't do well. So you can't have it both ways. Last questions, guys.
Paul, how much inward looking is the Waratahs administration looking at here? And if you're an outsider and you're looking at this relationship with Rugby Australia, this centralisation component, doesn't look like it's reflected well, and you've admitted that not having any players here may have really hurt this year too.
No, look, I'd stand by. I think Andrew was fabulous in the part that he played whilst he was here. Oh, look, I think, what are we now? May, 5 months into the journey with Rugby Australia. So there's no blueprint that says here's how it's going to work. We've been very fortunate. We, as an organisation, standalone, if you like, a subsidiary of Rugby Australia, but essentially we've got our own board, we've got our own decision makers, we've got our own budget. So we spend quality time inward looking. So effectively one of the nice things about this whole place is that we're all in the same space. So we're constantly interacting, constantly bumping into each other. There's meetings, you get a chance to engage with people all the time. So I think the experiment of integration, I said there are plenty of green shoots. Whether you've seen that, just whether it's through the loan sharing of a player as but one example. Behind the scenes, whether it's working around marketing, membership, ticketing, we haven't lost our back office staff. What we've done is we've added to those. Some of our game day operational staff are now working on test matches to get that experience. So, yeah, look, like I said before, continuous improvement. Lots of things that I think that we'd still continue to do and look at doing differently for next year. But for me, it's early days and we're still very positive about the concept of integration.
Was there any salt in there, Paul, on the weekend, watching some ex-Tars help with that game for the Force?
Look, one of the nice things that Darren's reflected on his first year, I'll reflect on my first year. It used to, cut a bit that the journos, yourselves, would write stories around former Waratah player, actually, you learn to accept that that's part of our job. So we've got the largest system in Australia of the nursery of players coming through. So I used to think, I'll be the first to admit, that you get frustrated when you'd lose players and they'd go somewhere else. But now I look on it as a sense of pride. We can only keep so many players in our roster. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't get it right. But when people start to play well elsewhere, I don't see it as a chance of missed opportunities. I just think it's fantastic for that player to be doing well. So, yeah, there was a host of them, a lot of them in the Western Force the other night, and they played really well. So good luck to them. And, I wish them well for their run into the finals.